So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, how to enter into Braj Bhakti, which is our ultimate objective. And the whole practice of sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, ending in prem bhakti, is towards that end. Of entering into Braj and absorbing ourselves so much in Krishna that we're completely consumed by that relationship. Of course, Krishna is not alone, so it's not that we're going there alone, and it's not there that we will be alone. There's a whole host of other wonderful associates there, so it is a full community, and that is our greatest aspiration. So the process of devotional practice, all the great acharyas are providing us with a roadmap, so to speak, through their various commentaries to bring us to that place that's truly undescribable. It's not going to be possible for us to go there intellectually or mentally. We have to go there with our hearts. But that doesn't say that we do not use our intellect, we do not use our mind, and we actually even use our senses. All with the objective of reaching up to the plane of unadulterated service, completely service attitude, no enjoying attitude left. That is Raj Bhakti. That's its very unique characteristic, is utter selflessness. So we've been taking a look at Srila Bhaktivinode Thakura's presentation of the symbolic significance of the various demons that Krishna kills in Vraj Bhumi. Vraj Bhumi being when Krishna exhibits his pastimes in the material realm, or displays them, I think is a better way to understand it, because he's coming and he's manifesting his pastimes, but he's not in the material realm. Of course he is too. I mean, Krishna's everywhere. But what we mean by that is he brings his abode to us who are not able, due to our conditioning, to go to his abode. So he comes and manifests his abode here, and he manifests what are referred to by the acharyas as occasional pastimes. They're not permanent pastimes. Those permanent pastimes are referred to by the acharyas as eightfold and loving exchange with Krishna without separation. They're always manifest in Goloka, and there's no stoppage there. There's no time that they're not manifest. Here, they come and they go, so they're referred to as occasional. How often do they come and go? Once in a day of Brahma. How long is that? It's a long time. So Srila Bhaktivinode Thakura, in his unique way, has taken from Krishna's occasional pastimes, and specifically his killing of the demons or chastisement of the demons. Sometimes they're not killed. Actually, none of them were killed. Well, actually, no one's ever killed, but that's another thing. But he draws from those occasional pastimes and the dispatching of the demons a significance, and equates the various pastimes, occasional pastimes, as symbolic of obstacles in our devotional practice. And this is good for us in a number of ways. First of all, it's good to know that Krishna is dispatching our obstacles. So if we can see the symbology of that, and if we can understand how affectionate he is to his devotees and allow him to come in and do the job, every time an obstacle comes, we can rely on him. What do we call it? Lean on him, I think is a song. So we can lean on Krishna. We can see that he actually is that affectionate to his devotees, as he exhibited in his pastimes in Braja Bhumi, and he will relieve us of these obstacles if we simply have the good sense about what's going on to request that his assistance to help. A prayerfulness about our service. A humility, a natural humility that Krishna, there's no way I can overcome these obstacles unless you intervene on my behalf. But there's also some little work on our part. There's one prayer, I forget the exact Sanskrit, about a lame man can cross mountains, and a blind man can see through the power of devotional practice. But so that power is coming from Krishna. But it's not that the lame man doesn't have to try to walk. So it takes both, some effort on our part. And as I said before, in speaking of these symbologies, Krishna is really doing the heavy lifting. So we'll quickly review the first demons, Putana. Putana, coming as a false nurse. Bhaktivinode said that she symbolized false guru. And at the infancy of our spiritual life, we know we want something more, and we know we need guidance to attain knowledge of spirituality, but we're so young and so inexperienced that there's every chance that we will be led asunder by somebody who's not truly looking out for our best interest. In discussing false gurus, he specifically, Bhaktivinode Thakura, points to those gurus who encourage material bhakti, enjoying bhakti or mukti. They may come forth and say, yeah, you worship like this and you get elevation to the heavenly planets or some such material benefit. Or if you worship like this, I'll give you some mantra. Meditate in this way, you'll be able to attain liberation. Both of these things are not of any true spiritual significance. Materialism is not of any significance to our spiritual well-being, and merging into the Supreme is, well, there's not much to it. In fact, there's nothing to it. That's why they call it Mayavad. Then we have Trinavarta. And this is the whirlwind of Bhaktivinode says false arguments, explaining in his symbology, his symbolic representation, that Trinavarta, the whirlwind, is like the whirlwind of conceptions regarding spirituality that we bring to us when we come to spiritual life. We think it's like this or like that. Only to learn, the best thing is to throw everything out and simply learn from somebody who knows. We don't really need to argue, but our nature is to be argumentative and to think that, well, actually, this is what the guru means when he said that, when really he was just saying very straightforward, no, it's like this. We said, we trying to think, we want to put it in our perspective. So we have this tendency to twist it up ourselves. So this is Trinavarta. He puts us in a twister. Our mind becomes all twisted up, where we have our conception of spiritual concepts, which are not very well situated. Then we come to the cart demon. In his Krishna Samhita, where these demons are discussed, the order is reversed on Trinavarta and Sakata, the cart demon. And the cart demon is representative of putting religiosity above the objective of devotional life. What we mean by that is to put the practice itself above the goal of the practice. Rupa Goswami, in his Upadeshamrita, refers this as niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations just for the sake of following them, and thinking that in and of itself is religiosity, is spirituality. No, it's a means to an end if you see the end. Otherwise, it's a means to nothing. It's not good unless we see clearly what the goal of spirituality is, and that goal is attachment to the Supreme. Unless we see that and have that as our objective, simply having a practice centered around religious formality does not equate to spirituality. So you may be the world of man may look at you and say, oh, he is so moral, he's so upstanding, he's such a religious person. He's in church every week, or he's in mosque every day, or he's offering his prayers 3 times a day, or he's chanting 3 times a day. But if his objective is just the chanting or the bowing down or the weekly, listening to the weekly sermon, then that is what Bhaktivinode is here referring to. Having a cart of religious practices standing between us and the sunlight of spiritual life. It needs to be kicked out of the way. Does that mean we abandon moral principles and proper conduct in this world of man? No, it does not. It means, though, we don't put the cart before the horse. The cart is not the objective. So, the cart demon. Next we come to Vatsasura, who is what? He is a demon, and he is a shape shifter, and he shifted his shape from this demoniac form to that of a calf. Krishna was in the calf herding community then, still in his Kumara age. And he snuck amongst the calves, and with the name of doing some mischief. And Krishna pointed him out to Balaram and said, "Hey, look over there. That one looks a little awkward. I don't remember calling his name. Did you call him? I don't know. I've never even seen him. He's here with the rest of the calves. What's going on?" Bhaktivinode points out the symbology of, basically he calls them juvenile offenses. What's juvenile about them? They're just a rebelliousness on our part to hold on to material enjoyments. And we're pretty stubborn about it in the beginning, determined as anything to, kick up our hooves and still try to enjoy things here and there. So Krishna detects this in us, and he will easily dispatch it if we simply ask his assistance. The interesting thing is, when we see any of these things, we observe this tendency to overthink the fact that I'm a great devotee because I'm a religious, or I'm following all this. No, I understand we're following all this to become a lover, not to make our hard heart. When we see this coming into us, we can think, Krishna, you dispatched, the cart demon, you kicked it over. Please, you help me kick this idea out that I'm such a great devotee just because I can follow regulative principles. It has nothing to do with my attachment to you. I don't taste your holy name yet. I just want to taste your holy name. So please kick this idea out of here that the taste is going to come by the religiosity of my mentality. No, the taste will come when all I want is when I develop a true greed for tasting that holy name. So please let that come, or false arguments. Or here we see juvenile offenses, still wanting to enjoy the senses, some way or another. We can think of Krishna destroying these demons in Braja Lila, and it has a great effect. It has an effect that we can take shelter of Krishna's protection. What do we call this? We call this surrender, right? Krishna is my provider. Krishna is my protector. I do what's favorable. I give up what's unfavorable. these 6 items of surrender. Well, one of them is that I take Krishna as my protector. So Krishna, we can see in this, in these obstacles and how the symbology is there, that we need to surrender to Krishna's protection. Without that, what's the hope of conquering over these things? This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is impossible to overcome, difficult. Krishna says it's difficult because he knows he can help us. But without that help, there's no overcoming the modes of material nature. Next we come to Bakasura. A little more serious, large duck, more like a stork, long beak, explained in the Bhagavatam. So, is a stork a duck? What's a stork? It's a bird.
It's a stork, yeah. Duck-like.
That's where babies come from.
That's what I thought. That's what I've always heard.
That's true.
Anyway, cheating religion of sectarian formalities and pseudo-renunciation. Bhaktivinode explains it in this way. A quote from the Krishna Samhita. He writes there, is that it is the eternal duty of Vaishnavas to develop the symptoms of love by associating with and serving devotees while remaining indifferent to external formalities. When looking at Bakasura, he's given us this explanation. Bakasura represents jumping ahead in religious practice and taking on practices that we've yet developed the qualification to enter into. The expert spiritual master will guide us step by step. And there are steps: Vadao, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana, Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nista, Ruchi, Sakti, Bhava, Prem. These are stages. We go through an advancing stages of devotional practice. Bakasura represents our tendency to want to jump ahead without qualification. To that end, we will accept a false guru, somebody who's willing to cheat us and tell us, you just take up these practices. Sit here in the Kund and become a Babaji. I'll tell you who you are in Braj. Chant Krishna's name 24 hours a day. And this is the perfection of your life. Well, he's right. That is the perfection of your life. Rupa Goswami points it out in Upadesha Amrita. There's not a better place to live than there, at the bathing place of Srimati Radharani. But you can't go there before you've at least developed some unquenchable taste for the holy name. It means you can't get enough of the holy name. Now, when your taste for the holy name is unquenchable and you must chant it 24 hours a day, so much so that you don't care for eating, you don't care for sleeping, you don't care for anything else than tasting the holy name continually. When you come to that stage of absorption in the taste of Krishna's holy name, then that's the right time. Prior to that, well, we've seen by example those that try to jump the gun have a difficult time. It would be nice. Let me go and reside there. Rupa Goswami says in his Upadeshamrita, I need to reside there in Vrindavan. And of all the Vrindavan, I need to reside, at this special place. And there continually remember. Well, there's the key. Continually remember means there's nothing else going on except that remembrance. So Bhakasura represents this tendency we have to want something cheaply or something for nothing. Well, Lord Chaitanya actually did break open the storehouse of prema, and he's distributing it, and we're never going to be able to pay back what that's worth. But he does request that we Chaito Darpana Mart, we purify our heart. And that purification generally takes some time. Well, there's Kripa Siddhi, there's Sadhu Kripa, there is a perfection which is just extraordinary. Mercy, where you may not go through the steps by step. That's the exception, not the norm. There's not a lot of honorary degrees. Most people graduate by going to the full term and making good enough grades to pass. At least let's try to get a passing grade. But to try to think that immediately let me go up and walk across the stage and sit at the head of the class is our cheating tendency. So that's his Bhakasura. This is a symbolization of Bhakasura. Agasura. How much time do we have? Agasura. Bhaktivinode Thakura looks at Agasura, and in his Krishna Samhita, he doesn't explain much in the body of the text. He refers us to an essay that he wrote specifically on, whoops, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry. Jumping ahead to Kaliya. So Agasura, because I saw the words here, intolerance and cruelty. So when we get to Kaliya, we'll see these words again. Agasura, the python, swallowed up all of Krishna's associates, all the cows, calves at the time.
Oh, Agasura, yeah. I was thinking of Kaliya.
Yeah, no, I know, I jumped ahead, I'm sorry. Rewind all that, erase all that, go back. Okay, Agasura, so the python. So, and they died, and this is the first time Krishna, showed his strength in protecting. Before that, he just dispatched all the demons who had attacked him personally, but now this Agasura attacked his friends. So Bhaktivinode Thakura points out that Agasura represents a lack of compassion for others. And he points out very simply that, this is a quote from the book, that the basis, There needs to be a basis of our devotion that is compassion for all living entities. And that there's truly no distinction between that level of compassion and devotion to Krishna. You can't really separate the two. We learn how to love Krishna by loving in the world. This isn't a false compassion. This is the compassion the devotee has, that as he purifies himself, he develops a natural compassion for everyone. Now we see this in our character in the world, even irrespective of spiritual practice. We like to share something that we get that's good. Did you see that movie? Wow, you've got to see that movie. It was a great movie. Have you been to the new restaurant down there? I tell you. Or have you seen this Broadway show? Or did you read this book? So whatever circles we're in, when we come across something that's really enjoyable, we like to share that. So this is a natural, we have this natural tendency. Of course, I'm using the material analogies here just to, it's there. So naturally, when it comes to spiritual life, as we begin to purify ourselves, as we begin to truly come into our spiritual life, advancing in the association of devotees, we naturally we have a compassionate nature that's going to come out. That nature is there, and it's how we show love. Now the devotees specifically show that love amongst themselves, as we just learned from Rupa Goswami and Upadeshamrita. Dadati pratigrinati guyam akyati prichte bhakte bhujayate chaiva sadvidim pratilakshanam. So, accepting food, giving food, accepting gifts, giving gifts, inquiring and revealing knowledge confidentially, secret knowledge. So this is a characteristic of the loving exchange between one devotee and another. But the devotees are so kind that even though there's the possibility of offending the holy name itself through telling people that really have no interest about it, they kind of walk a thin line there. They don't give too much knowledge because people will not believe it, but they certainly want to spread the holy name around. So they sometimes do their best to give people that have no interest at all in some little bit of knowledge. So that's the compassion that Bhaktivinode's referring to here in talking of Agasura, is when there's a lacking of that compassion to let people take advantage, and a lacking of a compassion within our own sangha of devotees, giving, accepting gifts, actually having loving relationships in that way, then that's representative, symbolic of Agasura. Consumes our spiritual life, cuts us off. Next, he speaks of the Brahma Vimohan Lila. Now, the way he presents these demons is not chronological according to Krishna Lila. Let's jump a little back around. And he points out that the Brahma Vimodhan Lila, and of course we know that's the illusion. The illusioning of Brahma was really who was illusioned. So the illusioning of Brahma, who thought he was stealing the calves and the cows. Calves at that point. Right after the next year, then the cows came. So he equates that Brahma Vimohan Lila with our being illusioned by the flowery words of the Vedas. That's an obstacle. Remember, all these things are obstacles toward devotional progress. So this obstacle of getting carried away by, well, wow, if I follow a codicy, I was told when I became a devotee, I follow a codicy. Then I saw this codicy book. Did you see what happens if we follow this one? Mm-hmm. Maybe I should actually fully fast on this one because, wow, I get, this codicy is going to give me, wow, the explanation was pages. I'm going to get to go to heaven. I'm never going to have to be sick again in my life. I'm never going to be bitten by a snake. I'm going to be bitten by a dog. I'm never going to be scratched by a cat, or I'm never going to be rained when it rains. I'm not even going to get wet. And whatever woman I see that I like, I'll marry, and just by following a codicy. No, that's the flowery words of the Vedas. We won't call them a trick, but they're kind of a trick because they're tricking us, not in the fact that they're not truthful. They're tricking us into thinking that that's of some value. We're already convinced that material life is valuable, so they're playing on our illusion to say, well, okay, let's at least get him to be a little regulated here. Oh, let me put this codicy stuff out here, and I used to read this book and I would be like, wow, and I thought this is Krishna consciousness, and then luckily somebody told me I was an illusion, that those illusions that are in the codicy book are that they have nothing to do with pure devotional service, and we shouldn't be attracted to that. So that's what we're talking about here in this Brahma Vimohan Lila. This is not what we're going after. And we're not protecting cows in order to, attain some great material benediction. And we're not, that's these karma kanda enticements of the Vedas are of no significance to us. And this enticement to attain liberation, we want to be lovers of Krishna. That loving reciprocation makes all these other things, well, you'd say pale, but pale doesn't even give it justification. Imagine the loving reciprocation between Krishna and his devotees. This is what we aspire to. These other enticements. So Brahma Vimohan Lila means as we're striving for the goal, we become sidetracked by the flowery words of the Vedas. And we're overcome by the arguments of the other spiritualists who entice us by these flowery words. The Mayavadis will say, oh, here, Lord Chaitanya says, don't hear from the Mayavadis. Wow, did you hear that? We're God. We can merge into the Supreme and, never again feel any material suffering. Devotees like, oh, the worm just fell out. I'm sorry. Here, get back in your hole. What do we care? That's the mood of the devotee, full of compassion for a worm that's eating its body. This is the Brahma Vimohan Lila and its representation. And we'll move ahead to Dhenukasura. Now, I know I read the description of Dhenukasura.
What happened to Kali? He hasn't come yet.
He hasn't come yet. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you the numbers of the obstacles. So Brahma Vimohan is the 7th obstacle. I'll give you my notes. So you have one after another. So next we come to the 8th obstacle, according to Srila Bhaktivinode Thakura's Krishna Samhita, Dhenukasura. And we know what, there's some real significance here now, because now with this 8th obstacle, although Bhaktivinode doesn't bring it out in his Krishna Samhita, he does bring it out in his Chaitanya Siksamrita. Siksamrita, yes. He brings out the fact that 2 of the demons are dispatched by Balaram, and these demons that were dispatched by Balaram require some effort on the part of the sadhika. So the other demons Krishna is naturally going to deal with as we continue in our sadhana. These obstacles will fall away because Krishna's, as I said, doing the heavy lifting. Shaito Darpanam, he's cleansing our heart as we associate with him. So here, though, we come to Dhenukasura, and we see with Dhenukasura that Dhenukasura was dispatched by Lord Balaram, and Bhaktivinode says that with the demons that Balaram dealt with, there's some effort on the part of the sadhika. So first, what does he represent? Well, he's keeping the residents of Braj away from the sweet fruits of the tall trees, tala fruit, palm trees. So they're not able to get those fruits. So Bhaktivinode points out that this is the simplest way to put it is it's a kanista mentality regarding devotional practice that is perpetrated upon devotees, which robs them of the true fruits of Vraj Bhakti. Overemphasizing a religious life over a devotional life. We're engaged in the process of devotional service to develop love, attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is our objective. Dhenukasura would be that person that would rob us of that fruit and say the objective is the religious practice in and of itself. Let's read Bhaktivinode's explanation again. Sorry. 1 second. And then we'll walk through this, because it's interesting the way he says it, and as I said, it's very esoteric. So I want to read his explanation and kind of take it apart a little bit. Subtle discrimination, fine discrimination, esoteric discrimination, determined discrimination is extremely important for Vaishnavas. We don't just take things at face value. That's what he's saying here. Don't take things just at face value. We want to know what we want to really bear down on what's being said by the spiritual masters, what's being presented by the community of devotees, what's being presented by the Purva Acharyas in their writings. We really want to get to the heart of the matter. Subtle discrimination is extremely important. Those who invent social distinctions, take it to the religious level, and preach the unbreakable principles of Vaishnavism while breaking them to suit their needs, are said to possess gross discrimination. We're not talking about, again, this is esoteric. They could be pseudo, because naturally just reading it, one would say, well, these are devotees that are putting them forth as spiritual leaders, which really, but behind your back, they're really not living up to the standard. That would be one understanding. Okay, so they're putting themselves forward and saying this is the Vaishnava principle, but they themselves can't follow it. You follow it, do as I say. What is it?
Not as I do.
Do as I say, not as I do. But they don't tell you what they do. They make you think they're doing what they're saying when they're not doing it at all. That would be one explanation. And the other explanation is putting forth not the true objective of Vaishnavism, because Bhaktivinode will go on to say they are controlled by gross discrimination. They don't really know what the goal is themselves yet. So therefore they may say, and Bhaktivinode even uses it in his explanation, they may say, don't read all these books about Raganuga Bhakti. Don't try to enter in deeply into these instructions. You just need a superficial knowledge of that. This is not important to enter deeply into this, into the Siddhanta of the Parampara. That's really not necessary. So that they'll just take the superficial and put it forth as the whole understanding. The ass cannot eat the sweet palm tree fruits, and he opposes others that may try to eat them. He hasn't heard enough from his guru, and even if there is somebody that can take him to the next level of qualification to enter more deeply into the practice, he doesn't even take advantage of them. He's content with his relative life instead of going deeper. And he's thinking that's all there is. And if anybody is going deeper, because he doesn't have the subtle discrimination, he only has gross discrimination, he says that's a misconception. When truly his ideal of spiritual life is the real misconception. The purport is that the previous acharyas of the authorized sampradayas, he also doesn't make it up as he's going along. He doesn't come up with some convoluted idea of what is the Guru Parampara, what is Jiva Tattva, what is Guru Tattva, what is Rasa Tattva. No, the true Vaishnava has subtle discrimination and learns through hearing from an authority what are the actual truths of the sampradaya that form the sambandha gyan necessary to advance and easily engage in the abhideya, the practice to reach the prayojan, the goal. The Dhenukasura represents those devotees that are not willing to enter deep enough into the practice to hear enough to properly advance. That's okay if they can't do it. But no, Dhenukasura goes so far as to say, no, and this is all you can't, this is the fruit. These deeper things are of no, so he guards the spiritual. He doesn't even know he's guarding because he doesn't know what's in the storehouse of transcendental knowledge. He can't himself taste the fruits. He can't himself mine the gems. But he refuses to allow you to do so. And if he sees that you're going somewhere else to mine those gems or to harvest those fruits, he immediately comes and tries to kick you down. That's Dhenukasura. Yeah, I mean, listen to Bhaktivinode's words here. Ask like devotees who are simply interested in the regulative principles and under the control of gross discrimination are unable to attain a higher platform. They're unable to attain a higher platform. Vaishnava principles are so unlimitedly exalted that those who simply remain entangled in the regulative process without endeavoring to understand the science of attachment are comparable to ordinary fruitive workers. Therefore, until the ass Dhenukasura is killed, one cannot advance in the science of Vaishnavism.
So this is a more, a deeper understanding of the cart demon. Because the cart demon was also, we talked about like the burden of regulative principles. Like
that's our burden. But now we're talking about we as practitioners. First of all, the cart demon represented this load of spiritual, regulative spirituality, what we call religion, as being the practitioner's understanding of what spiritual life was. So it was his cart. But now we're talking about not being able to use fine discrimination to advance in spiritual life because we're letting an ass get in our way.
So this is one of the ones that we're supposed to work on.
Yes.
So are there any recommendations as to how we are actually supposed to do them? What's the cure for it? How does one kill Dhenukasura?
What does Lord Balaram represent? Guru. So Bhaktivinode says, for these things, Dhenukasura and Bhaumasura, right? Palambasura, we have to take shelter of Lord Balaram, the true Guru, both Diksha and Shiksha. Shiksha, primarily for us. We're a Shiksha line. We have to take shelter of Balaram. Balaram will easily dispatch these demons. And then we can advance in our practice. So the key is hearing from the bona fide spiritual master. Oh my, sorry. Are there any questions?
Did you have one?
Go ahead.
So back to the permanent pastimes as opposed to the occasional pastimes. The permanent pastimes, did you say that they're the apricot Lila? And the conditional
Yes.
pastimes are the apricot
Yes,
Lila?
that's correct.
Just wanted to clarify.
So what if a person they want to take shelter of the guru and they're trying to find out, but unfortunately their guru is not very far along and they don't really understand
Then they go to
the
the-
really deeper sentiments. They want to have faith in their guru, but that guru is not competent to really help them out.
But if they have that fine discrimination to see that they need additional help over and above who their maybe Diksha guru is. Diksha is also giving Shiksha. But they see there's more that they thirst for. They need more nourishment elsewhere. They need to go elsewhere. Then they approach their guru and say, please, I need a little Shiksha. I see in this person some knowledge I'd really like to acquire to advance in devotional practice. Can I take shelter there for learning some more? And a Vaishnava will say, yes, of course. If he says no, that is the only instance where Jiva Goswami allows for.
Rejecting.
Yeah. So that's a serious matter, but hopefully that is not the norm. Generally, of course, in the Vaishnava community, unless there's some heavy sectarian influence, guru will always, if he sees his even the guru, even Srila Prabhupada, we saw in an instance or two where he knew that he was more qualified, but go ahead. If you think you can find more there, go ahead. I don't think you can, but but there was no, it was not a humility is always there, the part of the Vaishnavas. If that humility doesn't exist, then that's a problem. That is your question? Anything else? Thank you for your association. Hare Krishna. Turn it up.